particularly fitting final motion for this year's Congress, given the significance of yesterday's Palestine session. As you all know, the rectorship of Glasgow University has a proud tradition. In 1972, during the UCS work-in, students elected the great Jimmy Reid, who rallied against alienation in his rectorial address, defining it as the cry of men who feel themselves the victim of blind economic forces beyond their control. 15 years later, in the darkest days of South African apartheid, students demonstrated their commitment to peace and justice once again by electing Winnie Mandela. In Reid's address more than 50 years ago, reprinted in full by the New York Times, he challenged the right of any man or group of men in business or in government to tell a fellow human being that he or she is expendable. Comrades, in today's moment when political leaders in Britain, the United States and the European Union tell us we should continue to arm a state that has killed 17,000 Palestinian children, Reid's words bear repeating. It was against that backdrop that late last month, Glasgow University students voted in their thousands to elect Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta as their new rector. Dr. Abu Sitta is a Palestinian war surgeon who worked in Al-Ali and Al-Shifa hospital during Israel's ongoing genocidal war. He won with 80% of the vote, a massive mandate for Palestine, and for a man who time and again has put his life on the line to save others during wars in Iraq, Syria, Yemen, Lebanon, and most recently Palestine. Many of those wars, of course, began with so-called Western humanitarian intervention. 3 decades before his 46-word declaration announced the British government's support for the settler colonisation of Palestine, Arthur Balfour was appointed Lord Rector of Glasgow University in 1890. 130 years later, Dr. Abu Sitta's election buries Balfour's legacy in Glasgow. However, Dr. Abu Sitta's election was not met with inspiration from all quarters. When he arrived in Germany on Friday morning to give an eyewitness account of the horrors he observed in Gaza, Dr. Abu Sitta was detained at Berlin airport. After 3.5 hours of questioning in the basement of that airport, he was deported, returned to the UK, and barred from carrying out any political activity in Germany in person or online throughout the month of April. Meanwhile, the German police stormed the Palestine Congress at which he was due to speak, leading away Jewish Voice for Peace activists in handcuffs. Such an obvious affront to internationalism and freedom of speech should not go unnoticed by a Congress like ours at a time like today, especially following yesterday's debate. At the moment, following charges brought by Nicaragua, Germany is in the dock at the International Court of Justice, charged with facilitating genocide. Now, they are behaving exactly as an accomplice to a crime would, by burying evidence and intimidating witnesses. Congress, such scandalous treatment cannot become normalised. Mere months ago, the rector of St Andrews University was urged to resign for calling what we are witnessing in Gaza a genocide. In backing this motion, we put on record our opposition to a climate that increasingly, be it with anti-protest laws or threats to our freedom of speech, attempts to silence our solidarity with the people of Palestine. I move.
Thank you, Delegate. I have a note that UCU are asking to second.
Marion Hirsch, UCU, seconding the motion. I work at the University of Glasgow, so Ghassan is my rector. I'm delighted that the students elected him, as is their right, a traditional right of students to elect the rector, and it shows the strength of feeling amongst students about Palestine. The events described in the motion, such as the suppression of the Congress in Berlin, show the extent which, in this case, the German government will go to suppress free speech on Palestine, and in doing so also suppress freedom of assembly. But let's not believe our government is better. It's not. And we have to be vigilant and we have to fight this. I would also draw attention to the fact that Jewish activists were arrested. I think that's important because sometimes Jews and Palestinians, Jews and Muslims are separated, or it's assumed that all Jews don't support Palestine. And it's important to say that's false. I will also say I'm a proud member of a Jewish group of workers at the Jewish staff group at the University of Glasgow who do support Palestine, who are trying to meet up with Ghassan and to also combat all the negativity that has been put out. My sort of last, hopefully not too long point, as a trade union, we stand for human rights, justice, against racism, for equality. We don't always manage to achieve them, and we need to try better. But the way Ghassan is being treated, the rhetoric around him is totally contrary to this. It's trying to divide off Jews and Palestinians, Jews and Muslims, to present Palestinians as terrorists or whatever other horrible stereotypes. We need to combat that. We need to unite in support of Palestine and also in support of Jewish activists who defend Palestine and everyone else who stands up for freedom and against oppression. Vote for the motion, but also take action. Send solidarity greetings to Ghassan, messages to the university, and do what you can in your unions, your workplaces, and wider to promote Palestinian rights and also to speak out and combat racism and stereotypes.
Thank you, Marion. There are no further speakers. We move to the vote on Emergency Motion 7, Solidarity with Dr. Ghassan Abu Sittar. Can I see all those in favour? Thank you. Can I see any against? Can I see any abstentions? Thank you. That is carried. That was the last motion on the agenda. I now hand over to Lillian Mesa, our Vice President, to do the vote of thanks. Lillian.
Thanks, President. Thank you, and thank you, Congress. In moving the vote of thanks for Congress 2024, I do want to pay a very special thank you to all of the STU staff for organising and delivering such a very successful Congress in their usual way. Their professionalism and their dedication to detail has shone through in the whole week. I would say apart from Dave, who kept forgetting to press the button on the lights, but we'll not say that. Thank you to Susan, Barry and Alan and their staff team here in the Caird Hall for their support, not only during conference but in the lead up to Congress itself, so thank you. We would also like to thank Dave, Brendan and the rest of the team here from Story to Stage for their AV and digital support. To our Standing Orders Committee, Willie Docherty, Jackson Cullinan and Kevin Buchanan, to our tellers, coordinated by the Chief Teller, Alex Kennedy. And thanks to the Lord Provost and to Stuart Fairweather from Dundee Trades Council, who welcomed us here in Congress on the first morning, on Monday morning, and to Pauline Rourke from the CWU for Mike's vote of thanks. And to our photographers, Fraser Band, and a very special thanks to our exhibitors, who several of them have joined us for the first time this year, so thank you for all the work you've done over this week. And indeed to all of the affiliates and others who organised fringe meetings during Congress, a hugely important part of our Congress. And I want to say a huge special thanks to our international guests and our speakers, and a special thanks to Hassam Zamola, the Palestinian ambassador, and to Shahia Saeed, the General Secretary of the GPTU, and for the special session that we had on the crisis in Gaza. And I also want to pay a very special thanks to all of those affiliates and others, the Trade Union Council members who submitted those motions and sent a clear message of solidarity from this Congress to Gaza this week. So thank you for that. And to our VSL signers and interpreters, Leslie and Margaret, who always do a very special job for us over the 3 days. To our live captioners, Andrew, Julie and Caroline, who joined us again for the first time this year, who have done an outstanding job for us this week. Thank you. And thank you to my fellow STUC General Council members, and thank you again to you delegates and for the delegation leaders for your diligence, your contributions from this week. And I do want to pay a very special thanks again to our President, Mike Arnott from Dundee Trades Council, and indeed to Mike's own trade union, the GMB, for the support in his presidency this year. And I want to give Mike a gift from you, from Congress, for the dedication, support, the humour and his fantastic chairmanship this week over the last 3 days, but moreover for the work that Mike has done over the years as our President. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. By rushing through the agenda over the last afternoon, I've now given myself deliberately half an hour. I'm not going to use it, obviously. I was going to echo the thanks that Lillian has just given the wonderful staff, Secretariat, General Counsel, who are wonderful. It's just been, as President, seeing them working in a different way, in a more close-up way, in a more involved way, has made me appreciate even more the work that they do on our behalf. And we are really lucky as an organization with the people we have working for us at the STUC. I would like to thank Hamish Drummond for his contribution to the President's dinner last night. Those of you who weren't there, I apologize, but Hamish is an old buddy who was asked to come and say nice things, and he did, and he made a few people smile, so that's the main thing. To all of you who've covered our movement with much credit in the way you've handled yourselves over the last 3 days, I think we demonstrated during the debate and the session on Gaza the true nature of unity, where the differing motions and the attempts to get a composite were not cast aside, but dispensed with in the interests of unity, the importance that this movement can be seen and stood up with a unified, united statement representing the view of this movement in our attitude to Palestine and to what's going on in Gaza. That was incredibly powerful to be part of, and that power will demonstrate itself as it resounds out of this hall and around the labour movement and civic society in Scotland and beyond. You were to me, you were a credit to our movement and to the history of this organisation. I would like to pay a particular thanks to a certain member of the STUC staff called Shireen Nelson-Cruddas. You guys will not see a lot of Shireen, but as the president, I couldn't have done the last year without her. She is the one that emails me, WhatsApps me, keeps me right, sends me Zoom links to meetings, makes sure that I've got everything I need, prints out papers, sorts me out when I'm going to a speaker at an equalities conference or I'm speaking somewhere, and her first and last words to me are usually, Mike, is there anything you need? And she is a godsend to presidents past and future. She certainly was to me, and as I said, I doubt whether I could have done the job I've been lucky enough to do over the last year without her participation and her assistance. My last formal task is to advise Congress that Lillian Mesa has been elected President for 2024-25. And that Richard Hardy of Prospect has been elected Vice President. Congratulations to both of them. And this is an abusive position, but I'm not really caring because I'm the president, and if I think there's not been enough singing at the Congress, there has not been enough singing. Arise, ye starvelings, from your slumbers. Arise, ye criminals of want. For reason in revolt now thunders, and at last ends the age of cant. So away with all your superstitions, servile masses, arise, arise. We'll change forthwith the old conditions and spurn the dust to win the prize. Then, comrades, come rally, and the last fight let us face. The Internationale unites the human race. So, comrades, come rally, and the last fight let us face. The Internationale unites the human race. Delegates, safe. Safe journey home, everyone.